Hello and welcome to Bloodhammer. My name's Dean.
I'm Dan.
And today we want to talk to you a little bit about the lore of the Blood Angels.
Yes, the Blood Angels, as you can see in front of you, is an army that we both heavily collect. We love the army, love the playstyle on the table, but the lore of them is really, really interesting.
Oh yeah, and it's fathomless how much there is out there about it. Whether you start from the very early days all the way up to the more modern stuff, it's a literal minefield, but it's a beautiful minefield at that.
It is. I mean, everything from Sanguinius to Dante to the millions of people in between, the Red Thirst, everything. It's a super interesting lore, and Sanguinius for me is probably, I don't know, top 2 Primarchs.
Oh, definitely.
Realistically,
Definitely.
He's got a great story. Everybody kind of knows the end of his story compared to some of the other Primarchs. And we wanted to just give you a bit of an overview of the Blood Angels and kind of why we play them so much.
So, before they were known as the Blood Angels, the 9th Legion started their life as the Revenant Legion. Now, this was in a time before the finding of Sanguinius and the homeworld of Baal. They joined the Emperor's Crusade fairly early on, having originated out from Terra after the Age of Strife and the Unification Wars. And as you could probably guess by the name of the Revenant Legion, they had a bit of a bad name about themselves for quite a while. As the future name suggests of Blood Angels, there was a particular red substance that they liked to drink.
They were
space vampires for a reason, maybe?
Yeah, they were quite well known for being quite a bloody legion, and also kind of one that just got fed into the meat grinder a little bit at times. I mean, they weren't quite the headsmen that, you know, say the Space Wolves were, where they were sent out to really do the Emperor's dirty work. They were kind of the legion that they just used to go to worlds, devastate them, and then leave. They certainly weren't a glamorous legion before they found Sanguinius on Baal. He took it upon himself after getting his legion and combining it with the forces of Baal to bring his own light, to bring his love, and to bring his knowledge and strategic expertise to the Blood Angels, to turn them from mass murdering, just a horde of killing super soldiers, into arguably one of the best led factions that today, even still, is widely regarded as one of the best factions.
As Dan said there, in the early days of the Crusade, a lot of the legions and even Imperial Army units at the time wouldn't fight alongside them, or at least turn their nose up at the idea. Because of the history surrounding the, at the time, Revenant Legion, people were just a bit apprehensive about wanting to join them. After Sanguinius was found and turned his beautifulness upon them, it soon changed, and it went from people going, ew, no, to, oh yes please, and genuinely loving them a lot. As Dan said, like, even up into the modern day, people will now still call upon the Blood Angels before many other loyal chapters as they now are.
And, well, suffice to say, even in the Great Crusade, the Blood Angels had quite a good working relationship with the Sons of Horus.
Yeah.
You know, or
Him and Horus were pretty much BFFs for quite a while.
They were, which makes the end of this story a little bit sadder.
It does. It does.
They are an incredible legion, and they're definitely one that you should absolutely go and do more research into.
Yeah.
They've got so many cool characters, so many characters that are just a bit off, and actually, well, in our very biased opinion, probably one of the best just characters in all of 40k at the moment in Dante.
Oh,
I mean,
yes.
He's interwoven into the returns of 2 of the loyalist Primarchs quite heavily, and the stories surrounding both of them are absolutely fantastic. They're 2 of, for me, the best 40k stories I think they've done in a long time.
Devastation of Baal, hands down, one of my all-time favourite novels, even novel, audiobook. Just get it, it's amazing.
Absolutely. And Dante is a great character. He's great for the memes as well, you know, with him just constantly wanting to die. But
Let me die. No!
Unfortunately, you have more work. But the Blood Angels as a whole are just a really cool infantry. And there's a big reason why we love playing them. They're quite versatile. They've got a lot of things that are similar to other chapters, but they do really well. And they're just cool. I mean, you know, space vampires.
Vampires.
What's not to love?
Yeah. And like, as well, if you like the colour red, like I do, what's not to like about guys in bright red armour running around the field just chopping things up and going, oh, the odd throat here and there, I just fancy a little tipple while on the battlefield. What's not to like about that?
Exactly. So through 30k, the Horus Heresy, and into 40k, the Blood Angels have had quite a few notable wins. I mean, they were a very large chapter. They were a chapter that was very well known for getting into a lot of battles. It's a reason why Horus sent them to the other side of the universe when he started going into Chaos, because he knew how much of a threat they were going to be. They've had multiple notable wins in all three of those. I mean, some of our favourites have got to be, defending the Eternity Gate. It's an incredible part of the book, and if you can go on YouTube, have a look at some people that do the voiceover from it. We'd recommend a guy called Daniel Quinton, DQVO on YouTube. He does an incredible reading of Sanguinius' speech there.
Oh yeah, it's amazing. Even reading it sent chills. But the whole battle of the Eternity Gate, one-on-one with Carbander, then straight away afterwards he takes on Angron and just hurts them both. It's amazing. But even prior to that, they were instrumental in the conquest of Neptune. After that, as we've already touched upon, you got the devastation of Baal. When Horus sent the Legion away just before the outset of the heresy, the Battle of Cygnus Prime, another critical and amazing story. There's a whole book in the Horus Heresy series just about the Cygnus Prime campaign, and it is truly magnificent.
Yeah, and like Dean said, the devastation of Baal obviously is something more into the 40k, but it's a good introduction to Guilliman and the Blood Angels, and also just seeing where they are now and seeing the resolve of it. I mean, they've got something, 52 successor chapters?
All in all, yeah, and you get to meet quite a few of these during the devastation of Baal, because long but an interesting story short, Dante basically goes, help, and people pretty much come running, which you would when someone like Dante asks for help. You don't turn your nose up at that.
Yeah, and I mean, again, going back to why Dante is one of our favourite characters, I mean, he's somebody who's actually been in longer active duty than I think any of the Loyalist Primarchs that are still alive. And even to be fair, with how the warp works, probably longer than some of the traitor Primarchs as well. I mean, he's been going for 1,000 years, and he's been leading this chapter. He's an incredible character, and the devastation of Baal highlights him as a person and shows how he's got incredible resolve. He's almost intrinsically linked to Sanguinius.
Oh yeah. Well, other than the legendary Beyond the Fell-Handed and the Space Wolves, Dante is the oldest living person in the galaxy, really.
Yeah.
The arrival of Guilliman isn't going to change much of that, and arguably you could say the Lion's older, but that's just simply because the lazy bugger slept for the last 10,000 years. Talk about a catnap and a half.
Yeah, he looks older, but he doesn't mean he is older.
Charles Dance.
Yes, please, Charles Dance. Oh my God, Charles Dance is the Lion. We'll come on to the Lion and the Dark Angels at some other point, but Jesus Christ, Charles Dance, yes. Henry Cavill, make out. But they've had some incredible wins, and they were a force to be reckoned with as a chapter. And it's a big reason, like we said, why Horus sent them away. Why, when they were defending Terra, it basically came down to, the Blood Angels, the
Imperial Fists,
White Scars, and Sanguinius leading the line. And it's a reason why Sanguinius was one of the main people to go up, face Horus, and unfortunately lose to him.
Yeah.
It's one of the few losses, really, that the Blood Angels had. But Sanguinius saw it. They're an incredible army. And again, we would highly recommend go and seek out other videos that go a lot more in depth into the Blood Angels. We just kind of wanted to talk about why we love them.
Even like Dan just said, with the fact that Sanguinius dies at the hands of Horus, spoiler alert, sorry, but he knows it's going to happen. A lot of the Primarchs took gifts, I should say, from the Emperor when he created them, and Sanguinius took foresight from the Emperor. So, you've got to admire the stones on the guy. He knew he was going to die. He went anyway. Yes, he went in the hope that he was going to change that. I'm really glad that G-Dubs didn't retcon it and make it that changed. He had to die. But the fact that he knew he was going to die and he went anyway, I mean, the guy's got stones.
He really does. And like we said, absolutely look up some other people online.
Yeah.
Definitely, I'd say Arbitor Ian. I know we've mentioned him a few times, but he does some great book reviews, and he's got some really good little short videos on each of the chapters and where they've come from. And certainly his stuff around Sanguinius and Blood Angels is great. Bricky, as always, he gives a very brief overview of them, but still a great video. And like we said, DQVO for some really great voiceover work.
And Wolflord Rho as well, he does a bit similar to some of the others where he'll go through the books and he'll give a bit of intake on what he reads from the books as well. Everything from Devastation all the way into heresy stuff. I highly recommend Wolflord as well.
Sanguinius was an extremely popular Primarch. I mean, I think all of his brothers loved him.
Yeah.
And it's mentioned in some of the books as well that even Horus wished he had him at his side. I mean, he mentioned it a few times actually, how much he wishes he had some of the loyalist Primarchs at his side, like the Lion, like Rabute Guilliman, and of course Sanguinius. Sanguinius was beloved by all. He was kind, compassionate, extremely good looking from what all the photos have, and was just very well liked and had incredible loyalty from his army and from his brothers, and was somebody that was very well respected for his tactical mind as well. The main kind of core of that was Sanguinius, Rabute Guilliman, and the Lion, Lionel Johnson. They formed their own small imperium when they believed that Terra was lost, and when they were stuck on the other side of a huge warp storm. They formed the Imperial Secundus.
Yeah, and they managed to run this for a decent amount of time, all things considered. Never truly sat well with Sanguinius the entire time, because, well, as I said, he had the gift of foresight. He knew his destiny was to fall at the hands of Horus and didn't believe it was really there. It wasn't until the Lion came back with a tiny little stowaway by the name of Conrad Kurz, who somehow manages to hold his own against all three Primarchs before Sanguinius actually believes, nah, Daddy's not dead yet and Daddy needs me, and manages to depart the Imperium Secundus with his legion, shoots over to Terra to go and help Daddy, while Guilliman runs up behind him to go and help, and the Lion goes, screw you guys, I'm gonna burn heretics, and goes and lays waste to a load of heretic homeworlds.
Yeah, and kills as many as he can. But the Lion and Robot Girly Man both agreed that Sanguinius should be the man to run it. He should be the new emperor of this new Imperium they were building. They had that much faith in him as a person.
Even more than once, Horus even objected the fact that he was made War Master and firmly believed that it should have been Sanguinius. There is a reason he was, to quote even what the Emperor was known as, beloved by all. He was just the brother everyone wanted to aspire to or chat to. Some of them just didn't like him because he was so pretty. Some didn't like him because the dude had wings.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking feathers the size of a standard human here, and these were wings on his back. It was never really clear how these wings came about, if it was genetically done by the Emperor on purpose or a deformity from the radioactive worlds of Bard. It's never something G-dubs have particularly been clear on, but even so, he was loved.
Yeah. Or, you know, like a certain brother of his that's currently in the warp trying to fuck up Lorgar every other second. Maybe he just realised he was a warp entity. But the whole point is that when you look at the Blood Angels as a whole army, it's really Sanguinius. I mean, you look at the Ultramarines and they've got lots of other characters in there that are very well known, that are very big. Most of the other chapters do. They've got 2 or 3. And yeah, the Primarch is still the main guy, but when it came to the Blood Angels, up until his death, and even after his death, the guy was Sanguinius. There was nobody else. And like Dean said, he was so beloved by everybody that, you know, they wanted to make him emperor. Quite a few of the Primarchs didn't agree with Horus being made the War Master. A lot of people thought it should have been Sanguinius. Maybe they should have done that. Maybe they would have avoided some.
You never know. Like Dan said, with the uniqueness, every legion, and then after the second founding, every chapter as they became known, has a uniqueness about them. Whether you're the Ultramarines and all their successor chapters with basically being administrators and glorified pen pushers, or the Lion's children, where basically just really good at keeping secrets. Then you come to the Blood Angels. You've got the art, the artists. Then you've got the blood-raving psychos who just like to drink blood and have severe chronic daddy issues and just go on a rampage and murder everyone. I mean, if you want a uniqueness factor, talk about either end of the spectrum. Haha, look at this masterpiece I've created from this dude's skull who looked awfully like Horus at the time that I made this.
I mean, if you get angry enough, everybody's Horus.
Yeah.
To the Blood Angels, at least.
Yeah.
I mean, is kind of a big part of them. And we will talk at some point about why we play the army and some of those rules, like the Red Thirst. It actually does, if you run melee with Blood Angels and with specifically this dude here, Dante, it truly is an incredible thing. We've mentioned over the video and over this period with the Blood Angels that it does have a bit of a sad ending for Sanguinius, to be fair, but it is probably one of the most immortalized images outside of the Emperor on the throne. If you type in Horus and Sanguinius, it will probably come up with the image that I'll probably display on the screen of, you know, Sanguinius lying dead with the Emperor coming to fight Horus. The way it went about was Horus, basically feeling like he might be losing the fight, invited the Emperor to come and face him directly onto the vengeful spirit. It was the Emperor, Rogel Dawn, Sanguinius, and Constantine Valdor. They teleported onto the ship, but they got separated in the teleportation, and Sanguinius ended up finding Horus first. They have an incredible battle. We definitely recommend reading the book. It's an insane battle. Constantly throughout it as well, you can feel that Horus is still trying to get Sanguinius to come over to his side.
He is. Because
I don't really think he wanted to kill him.
They were, for all intents and purposes, they were BFFs. It's not a nice thing to do, is it? Kill your best friend.
No, I mean, it feels very similar to Ferrus Manus and Fulgrim. To be fair, in terms of, they didn't really want to kill each other.
By then, Fulgrim was just...
He was completely gone by that point. But he ends up fighting with Horus, and Horus at this point is on a good old steroid cocktail of 4 Chaos Gods, and kind of battered him, to be quite honest. It was bad. It was pretty bad. He ends up killing him, and the Emperor obviously comes to find him. That's kind of where it ends with Sanguinius, but a unexpected side effect of that was the Black Rage, and that took effect immediately upon his death.
It did. So the Black Rage, it was, for all intents and purposes, you could probably classify it as a psychic attack all the way down the bloodline, because all these Space Marines are genetically linked with their fathers, the Primarchs. So for the Blood Angels, the sheer rage they felt, which actually initially kind of started back on the Battle of Cygnus Prime during the Heresy campaign, kicked off to even greater extent at the death of Sanguinius from the hands of Horus. Now, for the troops still alive on the Vengeful Spirit trying to get to their father, they just went into 100% psycho mode and just butchered everything around them. On the surface of Terror itself, inside and outside the Eternity Gate in the Imperial Palace, those still alive and fighting just went mad. Forgive me, I can't really remember the name, but there's a part in the End of the Death where an Imperial Fist captain, I want to say his name was Ra, I can remember the dude had 2 axes, was fighting alongside a Blood Angel, and he even says in it that 1 minute the guy was lucid, he was fighting alongside, they were back to back in certain areas, and then another side he's just steamrolling and raging, but he's killing indiscriminately, mainly traitors, but any loyalists that get in the way, he's also taking out them. It's just pure and undiluted rage, where we were kind of joking earlier about everything looking like Horus. The Black Rage even now will affect the more modern Primaris Space Marines. They form what is called the Death Company. What they experience is basically a hallucination of the Angel's last moments against Horus, with one of the sayings that creeps up a lot of, "Why did you betray us, Horus? Why did you betray the Emperor?" They see the last moments of Sanguinius, and they become Sanguinius in that moment. There's whole stories where the Death Company, even a minor squad of like 10, 20 Death Company, turn entire battles around because they're infused with the power of Sanguinius for a brief moment, that they are just psychotic. To touch back on it, Devastation of Baal, the last part of the book, spoiler alert this time, last part of the book is when Dante and what's left of the survivors leave the Arx Angelicum to fight the Tyranids. They're preceded by a wave of Death Company, and there's stories about a guy just laying into a Carnifex with a hammer, another guy who has had his arm ripped off punching another Tyranid to death with his arm. There's just all sorts. They feel no fear, more so than ordinary Space Marines already do. No pain. They're a bit like an orc. You kind of got to pull them apart before they're dead. The Black Rage is just, it's something to behold. Then you've got the Red Thirst, which is basically just a constant thirst for blood. It will never be quenched. There's a trilogy about Dante. The first story in the series is purely about Dante. It touches perfectly on it. No matter how much water that the neophytes drink after they've had the gene seed implanted, it just can't take the thirst away. They need that blood.
And there's even ceremonies surrounding blood, which is why you'll see with the sanguinary priest model, which is a sanguinary priest, isn't it? It's a really super cool little model, to be fair. If you have a look, it's a super cool little model. But he's got a little chalice full of blood. And they've got all these traditions. But yeah, it's why the meme is always there about the
toaster looking like Horus.
Yeah, the toaster looking like Horus. Toaster burnt your toast? That was Horus. Kill it. So it's really interesting. Again, as always, highly recommend read the books.
Definitely.
Yeah, but
best source of knowledge for everything.
Yeah. So that, as with all of our videos, was just a brief overview of the Blood Angels, a little bit about kind of the lore, why we like them. We're going to do in our next video talking more about the tabletop, which is where we more excel with this kind of stuff, and talking about why we love the Blood Angels in terms of a tabletop perspective, what makes them unique, what's great. Certain things like the Sanguinor has some insane abilities. Dante with a set of Sanguinary Guard, I've played against it. It's horrible.
It's not horrible, it's fun.
It's horrible.
It's good fun.
It's horrible if you're on the other side of it. But as always, thank you so much for watching. We're trying to get up to 100 subscribers, maybe 200, that'd be nice. So if you wouldn't mind subscribing, dropping a like on the video, that'd be lovely.
Even recommend us to any of your friends as well, or gaming companions as well.
Yes. And as always, we'd like to thank Shrewsbury Wargaming Society for allowing us to film here and play here, and came and built models on Friday here as well. And Timecast Models, we've actually just recently got kill teams from Timecast.
We have.
Mark is sound, he'll sort you out. Drop him an email, he's usually pretty good on there. We'll put it in the description or something. But until next time, thanks for joining us. We'll see you then.
See you then.